Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 64th Annual American Legion Washington Conference. Please be seated and check to make sure your cell phones are silenced. The commander's call will begin in 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Legion family. My name is Patricia A. Harris. I am the chairwoman of the National Legislative Commission from the Department of North Carolina, and I am now about to call the commander's call to order. At this time, if you are able, please stand and join with me to render a salute to our nation's color. By the numbers, 1, 2. I now call upon National Chaplain Frank Carr of Virginia to lead us in the opening prayer and to recognize the prisoners of war and missing in action. Please uncover.
Good evening. Let us pray. Almighty God, creator of all the heavens and the earth, we humbly come before you, asking your blessings over this meeting. Our commander and all that's present today, God's blessing be with you. We pray, dear Lord, that you would bless us and guide us in all that we do and all that we say in this meeting today, that our actions will serve to uplift the veterans of this great nation we call America. And now, unto him who is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before an almighty God, we thank you, Lord, and bless the people of this organization this day. For thy mighty name we do pray. Amen and amen. Remain standing, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the empty chair before you. Resolution 288, adopted at the 67th National Convention, encourages us to recognize an empty chair at all official meetings of the American Legion as a physical symbol of the thousands of American POW MIAs still unaccounted for from all wars and conflict involving the United States of America. Let us rededicate ourselves to this vital endeavor. May God bless you. Amen.
I now call upon the National Legislative Council Chairman, Rick Ortel from the Department of Virginia, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please recover. You may be seated. Allow me to be the first to welcome you to the Commander's Call for the 64th Annual Washington Conference. What an honor and a privilege to be here this evening. Our mission here is to inspire, educate, and empower Legionnaires to actively connect with their congressional representatives. After today, you will be equipped to engage members of Congress, their staff, and others about the important issues facing our nation's heroes. Our influence is undeniable. We have the power of our nearly 3 million members of the American Legion family. And most importantly, our votes. These forces make us the most distinguished veteran service organization in the United States. To introduce the face of this nation and this organization, a man we all know too well. At our 104th National Convention, we elected him to lead our organization. With the passion of the experienced and respected pastor that he is, he calls us to be all in on Be the One, to reach out and help veterans in need. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Commander of the American Legion, Daniel J. Seehafer.
Thank you, family. Thank you. Please sit. I do want to say first and foremost, thank you, Patricia. And of course, family, thank you for being here today. I personally want to say that, especially for taking time out of your busy schedules to come to Washington, D.C. and advocate in our nation's capital on behalf of our fellow veterans, service members, and of course, their families. I include families because it's so important to who we are and what we actually do. It's quite common for seriously wounded veterans to say on the battlefield, "Tell my family that I love them." Tell my family. Sometimes these are their very last words. And who is more impacted than the family, especially when a veteran makes that tragic decision to take his or her own life? That's why it's our #1 mission to prevent veteran suicide, to, yes, be the one. And so we have to be the one for our veteran families, as well as the veterans themselves, especially in their times of crisis. That's why we must be proactive, even when things appear to be going well. You see, family, veterans often keep their pain bottled up. And when they do, their families suffer too. And so our great American Legion service officers are often the first line of defense when it comes to reaching these veterans and family members. They not only work tirelessly to obtain benefits to those who have served, but also for their surviving spouses when their deaths are connected to their military service. Among our agenda items this year is a call for Congress to fight the sharks. We are calling for criminal penalties against any company that skirts the VA accreditation process in order to charge veterans and families outrageous fees to process claims and appeals. In fact, it's against the law to engage in these practices, and those who do should be prosecuted. I also want our Coast Guard paid in the event of a government shutdown. Really, all branches. But we all know that it's the Coast Guard that is usually most vulnerable when these budget lapses occur, simply because they fall under Homeland Security instead of the Department of Defense. Additionally, we want parity when it comes to National Guard and Reserve members to receive GI Bill benefits, again, for the time that they serve. Military service is extremely challenging, and at times, we all know it. It's dangerous, isn't it? A day of service should equal a day of service, regardless of who issued the orders. Another item on our agenda is concurrent receipt. Now, if you don't understand that term, consider it a disabled veterans tax. No veteran should have to fund their own disability compensation out of their military retirement pensions. Period. Period. Now, veterans who have put away their uniforms are not the only ones at risk for suicide. The rates have been high among the active duty ranks as well. By improving the military quality of life, that includes barracks, family housing, employment opportunities for spouses, and affordable child care. We can eliminate some of the top sources of stress that service members and their families face. Not only must Congress act on these issues, but the American Legion is playing an active role through our BASE, that is BASE program, that is Base Assessment and Service Member Experience. Think of it as an extension of our highly successful VA&R System Worth Saving program. But this time, family, this time, it's for the military. Transition assistance is of paramount importance to military members wondering how to support themselves and their families once they leave service. We know that feelings of not fitting in, loneliness, and isolation are common among those in suicidal crisis. The military must be directed to use every high-tech and data-driven resource possible to ensure separating service members can transition smoothly. You know, friends, this winter, I visited our troops overseas as I toured the Far East with our national security staff. In a couple of months, I will visit the troops in Europe. Access to health care for our military and their families is an essential ingredient to the high military quality of life formula that I just talked about. Not every service member gets to serve at a major installation in the United States. We have military members in over, get this, 170 countries. Some are very, very small detachments in very, very remote places. Without a doubt, there are many issues on our agenda this year. However, implementing and overseeing the PACT Act, access to alternative treatments and therapies, allowing general but honorably discharged veterans to use the GI Bill, and of course, protecting the American flag from desecration are still other items we would like Congress to address. We certainly have more information about these issues in our legislative agenda and even on our website. And I strongly urge you to read and to listen and to learn as much as you can in order to prepare yourself for your visit on the Hill and even future visits. And so, family, we certainly do have some great speakers this afternoon, and you will hear from me again at tomorrow's rally. Yes? With that said, I'm going to yield the platform back over to our legislative chair, Patricia Harris. I just want to personally say once again, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. God bless. Love you.
It is now my honor to bring up our next guest, currently serving as the national president of the world's largest veteran organization. Lisa Williamson has served several unit-level positions and multiple department-level offices and chairmanships, such as chair of the Auxiliary Emergency Fund, Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation, Children and Youth, and numerous others. She was previously the Auxiliary National Vice President before being elected as the National President in 2023. Her focus as president is to destigmatize asking for help and preventing veteran suicide, and she is committed to encouraging everyone to be the one. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Legion Auxiliary National President, Lisa Williamson.
Yeah. Thank you. Please be seated. I'll take a page out of Commander Nancy Havers. Please be seated. I want to thank you all very much for this honor to address everyone here, to address the entire family. Family is everything to me. This year, I'm blessed to hold the title of National President. It's a one-year term. I'm thrilled to do it. But during this year, all I can do is support what the Legion has on their agenda. And to be able to embrace, be the one, fits perfectly. That way, the Sons of the American Legion, the Auxiliary, the Legion, we're walking the same walk, the same direction to try to take a bite out of any veteran suicide epidemic. Let me tell you some statistics here. 70% of people, veterans, who first think about harming themselves till the actual time that they may do it, 70% will do it in 1 hour. In 1 hour. 48% will do it in as short as 20 minutes. And there's some research that says that it'll be done in 5 minutes. So what that shows us is if we can stretch that time we can save lives. We can be the one. So how do we do that? We talk in acronyms as a military organization, as a family organization. ALR is how I remember it. We ask. A, ask the veteran how they are doing. L, listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're not saying. Listen to their body language. And if you still believe that they are in crisis, you reach out and you dial 988. Simple as that. Now the Legion has been working with Columbia to come up with those questions that you ask. Once you ask, sometimes it's a scary thing. You're afraid to ask them if they're really looking to harm themselves. So the Auxiliary plans to also release the Columbia information to be able to help our members help our veterans. And that's what we're about. That's all we simply are about. So we have a lot on the plate today. So all I want to say to you, be the one. Thank you very much.
Continuing with our Legion family, we have with us a man who has been a proud member of the Sons of the American Legion for over 20 years and has served as Sergeant at Arms, Vice Commander, and in 2014 and 15 as the Detachment Commander. He also serves on the Internal Affairs Committee and Mentorship Committee for Future Leaders. He has taught youth classes at ASAL conventions and meetings for the last several years and has served on the Internal Affairs Commission and Americanism Commission, where he was the chairman for 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Commander of the Sons of the American Legion, Donald J.R. Hall, Jr.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, American Legion family. It's truly an honor to be here representing my grandfather's service in the Army in World War II, and also representing the many members, over 380,000 of the Sons of the American Legion. I believe it's important to start off by saying we need to remember our why. The why is the reason we come from all across the country to be together here in D.C. to represent the American Legion, to learn more from one another, and to learn how to represent the American Legion up on the Hill. My slogan for this year is representing more than me. I normally let my heart do my talking, and I don't write many speeches. I believe my heart will always represent my grandfather and his service. He taught me the things to believe in. Things I believe in the purpose and the programs of the American Legion. I believe in the men and women who served our country. I believe that our veterans have earned the right to be taken care of by a country that that honors their service by fighting for what they should have. And yet we have to fight for what they deserve. But we must continue to fight. We can never give up and think it won't change. You've heard Commander Seaver say, we change lives and we save lives. So I ask, what will we do today to change a life and save a life? What will we do tomorrow? Maybe some of my answers would be, keep up the fight for our veterans. Keep working in your community. Keep flying that American flag, the symbol of our free nation. Keep making sure we support our defense and our great nation, and keep making sure we're working the mission to be the one. Share your why. Continue to support the American Legion by working the 4 pillars and challenging others to do the same. Increase our membership together. A bigger American Legion is a stronger American Legion. Thank you for your time here today. I believe in the American Legion family. God bless the American Legion family. God bless our troops, and God bless the USA. Thank you.
The term of National Commander is usually 1 year, but it takes many years of devoted service to the American Legion in order to achieve this title. That service often comes along after they leave, the office, they still continue. Would all past national commanders of the American Legion please stand and be recognized? Thank you. And would all past national presidents of the American Legion Auxiliary also stand? Also, if there are any past national commanders of the Sons of the American Legion, welcome.
While we await our next guest, please direct your attention to the overhead screens for a video.
This building here, we moved into around January of 2021. When we got this home here, it was like a load off our back. We finally had something that was ours. Vince F. Taylor, American Legion, Post 290. Vince Taylor was an American Legion member for years, wrote a lot of books, and he was the state commander of the Texas American Legion in 1963. So he was a big American Legion guy, and Vince died just about the time that we were getting ready to get going to our post. And so we named our post after Vince.
Over the years, the VFW and the American Legion in Dripping Springs have never had a permanent home. They've gone from one place to another place, jumped around. At one point, the floods caused one of the buildings they were meeting in to be condemned, and then they ended up meeting in the old school building and in different places over the years. But the two posts always wanted a home, always wanted a permanent home. And so at one point they posted a notice that was handwritten by Shorty Barnett, who's a Vietnam Navy veteran who passed away a year or so ago. And Shorty posted a handwritten note, and that note basically asked if anybody in the local community would be willing to donate a little bit of land for the two posts here to build a permanent home.
Okay, that was downtown Dripping, maybe 5 years ago, and Shorty, who is a Vietnam veteran, had his little hat on, and he handed me literally a hand-drawn flyer, and it says, wanted a place for VFW American Legion to meet.
The place where they were staying was washed out. It disappeared, and then they ended up staying in the next place in town that was a moldy old condemned building. And then we see this piece of paper that says, basically, help us, help us.
We started asking around, and we were completely thrown because it was a lot of people that wanted to invest weren't sure with the dropping memberships, and it was just older guys. The younger guys weren't coming in. Is that going to be around? Is this something I want to invest in? So we were lucky to find Hank and Lissa Seal, who are wonderful contributing people to the community. And he said, well, are you willing to think bigger? And I was like, what does this mean?
The SEALs had a different take. They said, this is way too small. This could be big. This could be really important. This could be much bigger. And so that's when it really started exponentially just growing into this situation where then you started having people get involved that were in the military, who knew what was going on. And Catherine just started soaking it up. All these people just came together.
And he goes, well, put some surveys out, see what it is that people will come together for these needs. And well, that's what we did. The survey went from Fort Hood down to San Antonio. We've done a couple actually. And we just use it as a Bible, the things they were looking for, which was a real surprise. I mean, the outdoor spaces were huge. Bringing their families was huge. Things for everyone to do so you can organically meet other veterans.
And so we consolidated all the responses to the surveys, and then we sat down with the architects, and we ultimately designed this campus. We have things as simple as gardening. Just down behind us here will be a huge garden where veterans and families can come and they can garden there. They can have their own spot and garden their own spot, or the larger garden, and they can participate in that. On this side of the property, we'll have sort of our physical fitness area, things like an obstacle course, areas for CrossFit, place for yoga, Pilates, things like that. Physical fitness is a big part of this. On the back side of the property, we'll have an area for horseback riding, where we'll have a local nonprofit that'll bring in horses once or twice a week for the veterans to mingle with, ride, care for, that sort of thing. There's a small camping area for veterans who are focused on, mental health and just sort of getting away from the world for a little while and enjoying the peace and serenity of just being here, being away from their day-to-day lifestyle, being in this peaceful place. And then there's a mile or so, or a half-mile hiking trail that will weave, throughout the property that will allow veterans to just go out and hike and enjoy nature. There'll be benches, there'll be places for veterans to reflect and just try to take a deep breath, take a moment away from the chaos of our world.
The families can come and, get together as a family and have a picnic out here on a Sunday afternoon or a cookout. And I think that is good. I think that's what they're looking for. I think the day of the smoke-filled bar at the Vet Hall is going by the wayside.
There's a great core of people that do a lot of work for this post, both posts. And we see that as like our foundation. And as we pull more members in, we want to expand what we do within these posts so that we can give people stuff to do because they want to be involved.
We're all trying to do the same thing. And the three things that we're really trying to do is service to the community, service to veterans, and networking. That's really the premise of our being and why we're here, etc.
This little meeting place is really for us, for our two posts, but the bigger vision, I think, is for veterans in Central Texas. And we want to be a part of that because it's going to give us an opportunity to serve veterans and not just have people, basically serving us. We want to be a part of making lives better for all veterans.
Legion family, it fills me with immense joy this afternoon to introduce a cherished friend of the American Legion. He was nominated by President Biden to be the 11th Secretary of Veterans Affairs. With a career spanning over 2 decades in Washington, he began as a staff member on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and later served as a principal deputy national security advisor and the White House Chief of Staff. Please give me a warm welcome to the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, the Honorable Dennis McDonough.
Good to see you, brother. Thank you. Good to see you. How's life? Everything good?
Good.
Good.
You want me to take this?
No, you can leave it. Is it easier for you to leave it there?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, good. All right. Thank you so much, Dan, for the kind introduction. Reverend, I should call you, for your unwavering leadership of the American Legion. Every day I see the real impact of your work, your devotion to vets, and your partnership with all of us at VA. So thank you very much, and thanks for not holding it against me that I'm from Minnesota, being a cheese eater as you are. See what he did there? Listen, I just want to take a minute because I just learned something coming over here. I just want to say to Nicole Nathan, Matthew Schumann, Ariel De Jesus, and to the indefatigable Jose Llamas, thanks for all the work you did. And I gather there was a little conflagration on the escalator, so thanks for jumping to it. Nothing greater than seeing vets taking care of vets, so thanks to everybody. Let me just acknowledge a few of the many great American Legion folks who deserve our gratitude. Shannon, you're a fantastic executive director who I just saw. He seems a little stressed out. Lisa, the auxiliary president, whom I also just saw. JR, Sons of the American Legion Commander. The Legion's past national commanders, and of course, each of you, the Legionnaires. It's great to see so many of you together. So good afternoon, everybody. Before I get into it, I just want to shout out my teammates at the VA information booth. They're here for you. We all work for you. So if you have any questions at all about our work at VA, they're here to answer those. They're here to help with anything that might be on your mind. So let me begin with a story. Mike Chastain is one of 5 brothers who served in the military, 3 of whom served tours in Vietnam. Mike followed in his brother's footsteps, joining the Army in 1966, and served for nearly 3 decades on active duty in the reserves. He saw intense action in combat in Vietnam. His landing zone regularly received heavy gunfire, and he narrowly missed being hit by a mortar. A voice, he said, told him to get out of the building, though he's the only man in it. It was there in Vietnam, early in Mike's military career, when he first suffered the invisible wounds of trauma. Over the years, those challenges became worse. Finally, earlier this year, his brothers convinced him to seek help. They told him the American Legion is the best place to go. The American Legion is the best place to go. Mike met with Tony Cross and Steve Voller out of the American Legion Service Office in Indianapolis. Tony and Steve helped Mike collect his documentation, including a diary detailing what he saw while in Vietnam. Today, Mike's PTSD is service-connected. He says, "I thank God that we're here today, and I thank God for the American Legion, for Tony and for Steve." And Mike's right. You're all a blessing to our country, to VA, and the veterans that we serve together. Every single day, you're fighting like hell for vets like Mike. And all the work you do individually and as a group comes down to the one thing that matters the most: veterans' lives saved, veterans' lives improved. Mike said it best: "I thank God that we're here today, and I thank God for each and every one of you." Now, the impact that you have on vets, the community, the camaraderie that you build every single day, it's inspiring. This is what our work is all about: getting the job done for vets. Whether that means providing the best care in the world, the benefits that vets have earned, or a dignified last resting place that honors their service and sacrifice. And that's exactly what you've been doing. Let me hit a few wave tops. Last year, veterans submitted 2.4 million claims, an all-time record, and 39% more than in 2022. Veterans submitted nearly 2.3 million intents to file a claim, another record, 62% more than the year prior. VA processed nearly 2 million claims, also surpassing the previous record by nearly 16%. VA delivered $163 billion in earned benefits to over 1.5 million veterans and survivors, an all-time record. Vets had 116 million healthcare appointments, surpassing the previous record by 3 million appointments. The Board of Veteran Appeals processed over 103,000 appeals, also an all-time record. More than 46,500 homeless veterans were permanently housed, surpassing our goal of 38,000. And 4.1 million veterans now rest in VA national cemeteries. All of those accomplishments, those are yours. And each of you should be rightly proud of them. You play a critical role, a key enabler of the VA's mission in keeping our promises to veterans. And like I said this summer in Charlotte, we have no better partner than the American Legion. And this year, going forward, we're not letting up. Together, we're going to bring new vets to VA, we're going to expand access to VA, and we're going to help vets thrive. We want to bring as many veterans as possible into our care because VA is proven to be the best, most affordable health care in America for vets. That's why, beginning next week, on March 5th, we're making 3 new groups of veterans eligible for VA health care, years earlier than envisioned in the PACT Act. Those 3 groups are as follows. Veterans who were exposed to toxins or other hazards during military service. Veterans who were assigned to certain duty stations in Southwest Asia or parts of Africa. And veterans who deployed in support of certain operations after 9/11. Here's what that means. If veterans served in Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iraq, or Afghanistan, they can now enroll. If they deployed to any combat zone after 9/11, remember the Philippines? If they deployed to any combat zone after 9/11, they can enroll. If they deployed in support of the global war on terrorism, they can enroll. And even if they never deployed but were exposed to toxins or hazards while training or serving on active duty here at home by working with chemicals, pesticides, lead, asbestos, certain paints, nuclear weapons, x-rays, they can enroll too. The bottom line is this: all veterans exposed to toxins and other hazards at home or abroad are eligible to enroll in VA care beginning March 5th. This is the biggest expansion of VA care in generations, and we want vets to apply as soon as possible. It's quick and easy to enroll. They don't need to be sick. They don't need to file a claim before they enroll. All they have to do is show that they served in one of those locations or in one of those operations, or participated in one of the activities that could have exposed them to toxins or to hazards. Even if they don't think they need this care today, they might need it tomorrow, or the next day, or 30 years from now. All they have to do is enroll. Then they have access for life. So let's not miss this opportunity. Better, more affordable health care is waiting for vets. And they can go to va.gov/PACT. That's va.gov/PACT to get it. I appreciate the Legion's help spreading the word on that. And I promise you, we will do everything in our power to serve vets as well as you have served us. One more request before I close and get to the main event here, which is your questions. Starting April 20th, we will no longer send a veteran or a family member benefit to more than one bank account. We're making this change to help protect veterans and families from fraud and to ensure that we're able to pay veterans on time, every time, without error. This will require all veterans and beneficiaries who receive GI Bill payments and other benefits payments across multiple accounts to select one of those accounts by April 20th. For example, if a vet receives GI Bill payments to one of their bank accounts and disability payments to another, they need to select one of those for all of their payments by April 20th. This shift will impact about 50,000 veterans of the more than 800,000 who are GI Bill beneficiaries. So we're only talking about 50,000 vets. And fortunately, we have the contact information for each of them. We're aggressively reaching out to these student veterans through text message, phone, email, on a weekly basis until April 20th. They will continue to get texts and emails and outreaches until they've updated their information on va.gov. We're also working with the schools, with VSOs like the Legion, and other relevant parties to make sure that vets meet this deadline. The easiest way to do it is for the vets to make this change at va.gov/change-direct-deposit. That's va.gov/change-direct-deposit. Importantly, not a single veteran will miss a payment of any type, even if they don't change their account. Because you know what? Students who don't consolidate their bank accounts by April 20th will consolidate it for them. No joke. Electing their non-education benefit pay account as their primary bank account. We will ensure every single vet has access to the benefits they earned and deserve because they are theirs. And we will ensure that no veteran loses their education benefits as a result of these changes. So, that's my last ask. Between now and April 20th, please help us spread the word to vets, who you hear from, that they just need to make this simple change. With that, let me end with something I said at your annual conference in Charlotte last summer. I said the reason that I come to these conventions is to hold myself accountable, to hold all of VA accountable to you. That if we at VA are not living up to the highest standards, I want you to let me know. Because this work takes all of us. VA can't and doesn't keep this nation's solemn obligation and promise to vets alone. Partnerships like the VA partnership with the Legion help us tackle the most pressing priorities on preventing veteran suicide, ending veteran homelessness, improving health care access, and more. We cannot keep our promise to vets without you, without your candor. Because vets trust the Legion. Vets talk to you when something isn't working the way it should. So your work helps us better understand what veterans experience in uniform, what they're going through here at home, and how we can better help them, oftentimes bringing something to our attention that we did not know was happening. We saw a very prominent example of this last fall, as the deadline approached for backdated PACT Act benefits. First, one of your accredited service officers in Australia noted that there were issues getting an intent to file into the VA system. Shortly after that, the Legion service officers and state leadership in New York, Indiana, North Carolina, and Minnesota, see, that's where I'm from, started sending messages to your team in DC that they were also receiving error messages, and that they were seeing a huge uptick in the number of veterans who were coming in to file their claim. So Reverend Dan and Shannon gave us a call. That puts it mildly. That Shannon, he's quiet, but he packs a punch. Because of the Legion, because of the powerful community you built for veterans, because of the magnificent network of veterans that you maintain, we learned about our own technical issues from you. We immediately fixed the bug. Then we went through our records and logged every single error message, communicated to veterans through every channel available, alerted Congress, and extended the deadline to apply to receive backdated benefits. All of this work ensured that no veteran, no survivor, missed out on a single day of benefits that they earned and that they richly deserve. And that's because of you. You help us serve veterans far better than we ever could alone. You make us better able to serve vets by holding us to account. Your work's having a direct and positive impact on the lives of veterans. I've heard dozens of stories of American Legion leadership reaching out to VA's VSO liaisons around the country with any issue, big or small, giving us the ability to fix them for vets within hours, sometimes within minutes. So when you hear from a vet who needs something, please make your first call to us. Together we can solve problems with full transparency, holding nothing back, continuing to build trust by telling the whole story. Look, we're proud of our accomplishments. But I also know something else. I'm a sinner. And I'm very candid about my shortcomings, about my failings. And I'm candid with our team. I'm candid with you. I'm candid with vets, with Congress, and with the American people. We still can. In fact, we must be better and must do better for vets. America's vets deserve our very best and will never settle for anything less. So God bless you all. May God bless our nation's service members, our veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. Now, Rev, let's hear some questions. Questions from what's on people's minds. I think I just messed up your pages. So just make sure you're in the right place.
To my left, Commander, question?
Mr. Secretary, we'd like to thank you for taking time into your busy schedule to be with us today.
You bet.
My question is, the electronic health record system rollout was put on hold over a year ago. There is a discussion in Congress about the possibility of canceling the whole program due to lack of implementation and issues with its operations. What's the VA's position on the EHRM project?
Yeah, thank you very much, Commander. I continue to believe, VA continues to believe, that a modernized electronic health record is pivotal, is vital to the future for two very simple reasons, both of which are the reasons we started it. One, to get a full record, access into the full record of a veteran's service so we can more promptly and more accurately make sure that we're making service connections. Second, it is the best, most prompt way to ensure access to care. So here's where we are right now. In the next 2 weeks, we will make a decision on whether to deploy the EHR system, the Oracle Cerner system, in the joint facility in North Chicago that we run with the Department of the Navy, the Federal Healthcare Center, named after James Lovell. We think that we need to proceed there so that we are good partners with DOD and so that we can reap the benefit of that partnership with DOD for a complete look into veterans' records, starting from when they first enlisted, through their entire relationship at DOD, and then when they joined VA. We also have the system deployed in 5 sites, 2 in Oregon, 2 in Washington State, 1 in Ohio. We are operating those in reset mode, where we're updating the system, and we want to deploy it further from those 5 sites, but we will not until we prove that it works in those 5 sites. I can't give you a timeline as to when we'll know. but we are making very good progress right now. And that progress is informed by veteran experience and by clinical provider experience and feedback. So, Wolf closes the door. Is this decision in Chicago? We'll make that in the next week to 2 weeks. We have to make the decision then on the 5, and then we have to stay on top of this thing. There is talk in Congress about canceling it. My sense, now Shannon and your team will have different view maybe, or will have additional views. My sense is they will not cancel it. I think they will cabin the money, maybe sequester some of the money from us to prove that it's working before they give us the money. But my sense is if we can continue to show it works, which I believe we can, they'll give us the money and the authorities to keep deploying it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, my name is Phil Youngblood. I'm from the state of Georgia. Commander Seahaver touched on this during his opening remarks. Will you please tell us what the Department of Veterans Affairs is doing to help deter or prevent predatory companies from taking advantage of our nation's veterans?
Thank you very much. So we're doing 3 things. One, when we see predatory companies, bad actors, including non-accredited actors taking advantage of veterans, we're doing everything we can under the current law. You know that the criminal statute, the statute has been, the criminal penalties associated with the statute have been removed, but we can still name and shame. So when we see a bad actor, we communicate with them to cease and desist, and then we publish that actor's name so as to deter veterans from going to those actors. 2, we have now stood up a full interagency team within the administration using all of the enforcement authority that we have at places like the Securities and Exchange Commission, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, the Department of Treasury, the CFTC, the Consumer Finance Protection Corporation, to make sure that we are using all of those authorities, enforcement authorities, to, when we see bad actors, to name and shame, but then also to protect vets whose assets may have been attached, or to bring additional regulatory action against the bad actors.
Thank you.
Third, I'd just say one last thing. We just have to get better and more timely about providing claims answers. Because when veterans feel like they're getting a fair shake, they won't feel like they need to go somewhere else. Now, the thing that we're urging veterans to do is to go to our partners at the Legion, our partners whom we accredit to carry out this business. But to really make this all work, we just have to get more timely on claims, and we're doing a better job now. We're not done by any means, but we're doing a better job. So thanks for the question.
We'll do 2 more questions. So I'm going to, Mr. Hagan, and then Roger.
Doug Hagan, Department of France. Mr. Secretary, what are the steps being taken to improve health care support for veterans living outside the United States?
Yeah, thanks very much. Well, you know, the program under which we provide access to foreign care has been lagging, so we're reviewing that top to bottom. 2 is I just met with the State Department recently about trying to make sure that where we can pilot the provision of care on U.S. missions in foreign countries. So we're some time from that, but to try to increase optionality for our vets living overseas and to then try to increase the pressure on the foreign care program, we're trying to create additional options on our missions overseas. So we'll keep obviously the Legion, your team here, in the Capitol update on our progress on that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The Wounded Warrior Access Act became law last November. And can you please tell us a little bit about it, how it affects the VA and our veterans, and the implementation status on that?
Sure. Can you just repeat the first part, the first sentence?
The Wounded Warrior Access Act that was put in law.
One more time.
The Wounded Warrior Access Act.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that we're throwing open all doors in terms of increased access opportunities. And so when you think about, so what are we doing to increase access? One is we're expanding eligibility. Two, we're making sure that once a veteran is in our care, they can get timely access. That includes hiring providers, and we just had a very, I know you talked about this earlier today, we had a very aggressive year in hiring last year, and I think we've made good progress on hiring. Secondly, we're trying to make sure that we're a more reliable partner to the community for our vets who qualify and get referrals to care in the community. Third, we're trying to make sure that we're responding to the specific needs of veterans who get their care with us. So, and this is critical to our continued reliance on the V-signal or the patient survey that happens after every engagement with VA. That provides us actionable intelligence for where we can improve the veteran experience. So again, veterans are sharing with their battle buddies, with their fellow vets, that VA is a place to be trusted, including for the most profound or most delicate types of care that our wounded warriors may be seeing.
Well, I do want to say, Secretary, thank you for your words and taking time out of your schedule to be with us.
I wouldn't miss it.
This is, let's give them a round. And talk about family. I was able to visit that week of Veterans Day with you, and I thank you for your time, because I know you're busy, but taking time and looking at the issues that really do change and save the lives of our fellow veterans. So now I want to welcome VA&R Commission Chairman Autry James to the stage to join the Secretary and, of course, myself in presenting the VA Physician and Healthcare Provider of the Year Awards. Autry?
Thank you, Commander. Good afternoon, Legion family. Our VA award was established at Washington Conference in 2017. A White House fellow, Dr. Tina Shaw, spoke to the VA&R Commission about our System Worth Saving program. She loved our program, and she challenged us to establish a Physician of the Year award. We met this challenge and went beyond. We also established the VA Healthcare Provider of the Year award. This afternoon, we will be presenting both awards to highlight the dedication of these recipients to ensuring that veterans receive the care that they deserve. Our Distinguished Physician of the Year is Dr. William Bell III, rheumatologist at the James H. Quillen Medical Center in Mountain Home, Tennessee.
In recognition of your distinguished public service and commitment to the care of America's veterans. Your dedication to caring for our nation's veterans demonstrates your high degree of professionalism and countless hours dedicated to ensuring veterans are treated with respect while receiving exceptional health care.
They told me I've got a couple of minutes to talk.
You won't have to listen to one of my long, boring speeches that I used to give years ago. So I'm going to say that I am deeply honored and appreciative of this award. I've been with the VA for 8 years after a long stint in private practice that was preceded by tour duty in the Navy, during which time I got to, yes, during which time I was, the last year was the fun year. I got assigned to a submarine tender, the USS Hunley, which has since been decommissioned. And it was a good experience. I learned a lot of good things there. And I want to accept this award on behalf of my staff, who, without which I wouldn't be here. And I appreciate the VA for providing me a place to go finish out my career in medicine. When I came to the VA, I told them I wanted to enter a clinic where we could focus on decreasing the wait time for patients that had inflammatory arthritis, and we've been able to successfully do that. They provided me that opportunity and the people we needed. And I just want to say that one surprise for me when I came to the VA was finding out that we are actually you. About 75% of the providers I work with are all veterans. So we're kind of all in the same boat. We sink or swim together. And hopefully we'll all continue to provide you a service that you need and desire. Thank you.
I'm pleased to announce that our VA Healthcare Provider of the Year is Kimberly Nutt, an echocardiographic technician at Michael Serence Medical Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
In recognition of your distinguished public service and commitment to the care of America's veterans. Your dedication to caring for our nation's veterans demonstrates your high degree of professionalism and countless hours dedicated to ensuring veterans are treated with respect while receiving exceptional health care.
Thank you very much. I was extremely touched to hear that I was nominated for this prestigious award by someone very sweet to me, one of my dearest patients, Mike Stolascio. I was even very more overwhelmed to get the news that I would be receiving this award for Healthcare Provider of the Year. I really, truly am very humbled by this. I have the amazing good fortune of being able to get up every day and do something that I truly love, and is not only something truly that I love doing, but is very meaningful to me. You never know what kind of day you're going to have, or what somebody else is having, or what somebody else is going through when you cross their tracks each day, or what kind of day you're having. During my day, to me, it's not just my job to evaluate their heart. To me, it's to talk to the individual themselves as a whole. It doesn't take much to take a smile, to say hi, to compliment them, to ask them how they're doing, and to take a moment to listen. It's not just about the job, or to look at them and it's not about just their heart, it's about them as a whole. I want to say thank you to my husband, Charlie, who's been there for almost 30 years, supporting me, loving me, and being my backbone. From the bottom of my heart, I am blessed to be working with and for all of you every day. To all of you, thank you for your dedication God bless all of you, and God bless America. Thank you.
Dear family, a third-generation Montana farmer, our next guest is a proud grandfather and a former school teacher. He is the chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee and chairman of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Defense. He also serves on the Senate Banking Committee, the Senate Commerce Committee, the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs, and was last year's American Legion Distinguished Public Service Award winner. He and his wife, Charla, still farm the same land near Big Sandy, Montana, homesteaded by his grandparents in 1912. Please welcome the Honorable Senator John Tester.
Thank you, Commander. I'd do anything to make Secretary McDonough look good, okay?
Great. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Commander, thank you very much for those kind words. If I can get this stuff juggled out here. I do want to tell you guys, so you know, I could tell you that I serve on so damn many committees I didn't have time to change clothes. I could tell you that Secretary McDonough and I have done this before, and the last time we spoke, and I spoke after him, he said, would you do me a favor? Would you quit dressing up so good because you make me look bad? Or I could tell you that this is what I put on at 2:30 this morning when I went to the airport to come back to D.C., which is more the truth. I want to start by thanking all of you folks from the American Legion who traveled far and wide to be here. The folks from Montana, are you in the house? Raise your hand, stand up. There we go. Thanks for being here, you guys. We appreciate it. Look, when I address the Legion, I always brings back memories to me of my good friend, and I think he was a good friend to some of the folks in the room here, Merv Gunderson. As many of you know, Merv was a leader in the Legion, in Montana and nationally. He led a life dedicated to helping our fellow veterans and their families. While he is no longer with us, his first-rate leadership should inspire our collective worth for veterans every single day. Look, I grew up, as the commander said, in a small town in north central Montana. I learned from a young age that America's veterans are the fabric that make our nation the greatest country that's ever existed in the world. It is something that has always stuck with me, and I carry it with me to this day as chairman of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. As chairman and before as ranking member, I've been lucky to partner with the Legion to work towards honoring the promises that we've made the fighting men and women that have served this country. Together, I'm proud that we've made great strides toward doing what's right by our nation's heroes over the past few years, from strengthening mental health with the Hannon Act to finally delivering generations of toxic exposed veterans and their families the health care and benefits they've earned with the PACT Act. These laws help pay the cost of war. And it is an understatement to say that we could have got them done without you. When it came to getting the PACT Act signed into law, it was the veterans, it was the VSOs who put pressure on Washington and on Congress to do the right thing for our toxic exposed veterans. I saw it work, I saw it flip votes, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that work. Your efforts are proof that our democracy works. And just more than a year and a half after that bill was signed into law, I am glad to see that the PACT Act is making a real difference with our veterans and their loved ones. I can't tell you the number of veterans that I've talked to that have said the PACT Act have changed my life. I met one veteran recently in Missoula who said, I just want you to know I've got 6 months to live. Without the PACT Act, my family would be living in poverty. With the PACT Act, my family's going to be fine. This is exactly why we fought like hell to pass the PACT Act.
And it is also why the VA has to implement the law the way Congress intended and the way veterans deserve. Now, I think we can agree this is no small task, but so far, I'm glad the VA has been working around the clock to deliver real results for our veterans who need this support now. They've done this by hiring more claims processors, more healthcare staff, and by working to open new clinics. These efforts go a long way in improving VA's capacity to serve our vets. And with you as partners, we will keep holding the VA accountable and rolling out the PACT Act and ensuring the veterans in this room and across the country get the quality support that they have earned. But we still have more work to do. I come to learn that Montana common sense isn't common sense everywhere. And when I see policies in Washington that don't make sense, I take my cues from the veterans, and then we go to work. And that's why I'm fighting to pass the Major Richard Starr Act. And with your support, we will right an injustice that currently prevents medically retired combat veterans from receiving their full military benefits. It's also why I'll continue my fight to protect veterans from scammers looking to prey on their hard-earned benefits, including those expanded under the PACT Act and with the bipartisan Guard VA Benefits Act. I was watching the Secretary speak. I listened to the questions that were asked. One of the questions referred to the commander's opening statement and talked about this very issue. We need to give the VA all its tools to stop these crooks from stealing benefits from our veterans. We've also got to keep pushing to connect veterans with the mental health care and the services they need. No matter where they live, mental health is one of the biggest challenges facing our country and our veterans, and we'll keep working hard to enact innovative solutions that improve access to life-saving mental health care. So look, we've done some good work, but we have more work to do. I want to thank you again for your partnership and the great work that you do, the American Legion does for our veterans and their families. I look forward to hearing more about the Legion's top priorities during next week's Veteran Service Organizations hearing. Together, we're going to continue to do right by America's veterans and their families. Please enjoy your conference, and please know that my door is always open. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you. Have a good convention.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we do continue, it is my honor to introduce a great ally to veterans and a friend to the American Legion. The Distinguished Public Service Award is given to one public servant each year in recognition of their contributions to legislation on behalf of veterans and our active duty and reserve service members. Each year at our Washington conference, the American Legion National Commander presents the award with a sincere thanks from the American Legion's 1.5 million dues-paying members. This year's recipient has represented the great state of Minnesota in the United States Senate since 2007. Since that time, she has been a champion of important legislation that the American Legion has prioritized year after year, and she has tirelessly worked to improve our national security. Her leadership in the Senate is recognized on both sides of the aisle, and we are proud to present the 2024 Distinguished Public Service Award to Senator Amy Klobuchar.
In recognition of your venerable promotion of America's service members and veterans. As a senator and advocate, you have dedicated countless hours to bolstering our nation's security, improving military quality of life, and caring for our country's veterans. Your vigilant efforts to protect our United States Armed Forces and our allies across the globe have been critical to ensuring that the honor of the United States military is upheld. When there are critical issues to be debated on the Senate floor and important questions to be asked, you can always be counted on to stand up and speak. The American Legion is proud to be able to consider you an ally and a friend.
Well, thank you so much. It is such an honor to receive this award. My dad served during the Korean War, and I know he's up there looking down with pride right now. I am deeply, deeply grateful to our veterans for your service, for your sacrifice to our country. And I am also deeply grateful. It's something I see firsthand on the Hill every day, how the Legion has stood up for veterans, also for our active service members, and has taken such a lead in the critical issues of our time. From offering financial assistance to families in need, to championing hard-earned medical benefits for vets exposed to burn pits, so important in my state. I first heard about it from a husband of a vet, Amy Muller. She got pancreatic cancer in her mid-30s, left 3 little babies, and her husband came to me and said, "I'll do anything to make sure this doesn't happen again." And way back then, the Legion was on this. We worked on it. We got the bills introduced. As you heard from Senator Tester, finally got the PACT Act over the line with Dennis McDonough's guiding hand. He's also a Minnesotan, I would add. We were able to get this done. I think half your program so far has been from the state, which makes you all Vikings fans. I know that. My dad actually was the sports writer covering the Vikings and once wrote a book that is sadly still relevant today. And this was the title of it in the early 80s, called "Will the Vikings Ever Win the Super Bowl?" That is a true story. So, whenever I meet with our men and women in active service, I'm always reminded when we send them overseas, we make a promise of how we're going to treat them when they're there with the equipment, with what they need, but also how we're going to treat them when they come back. And that's where the burn pit bill, of course, was so important. And it wasn't just, as you know, about recent conflicts. It was also about those exposed to Agent Orange. And it was very important to us that those vets got covered because that promise made way back then wasn't kept. And it was our duty to continue that work and to make sure it was kept. The other thing I want to talk about, 2 more things that have come up recently, and one was the military confirmations. As you know, for 10 months last year, a single senator from Alabama, hi Alabama people, thank you, played politics with our national security, blocking hundreds of military promotions and holding the entire military chain of command hostage. So there was a group of senators from both sides of the aisle, right? That's important to note. Senator Reid and Senator Graham, Young, Tester, Ernst, Sullivan, Romney, that put pressure on this senator by repeatedly going to the floor. The American Legion and dozens of veterans groups said enough is enough. And finally, we took a bill to the Rules Committee that I chair to change the Senate rules. And we were able to pass out a rule that was clearly, we'll call it a shot across the bow, that made it very clear we were going to change the rule unless the senator backed down. And after that, we got an agreement. And so it was my honor to have led that committee, got that vote, and what my guiding principle is this. When our soldiers signed up to serve, there wasn't a waiting line. And when they come home to the United States of America and they need health care, or they need housing, or they need a job, or yes, they deserve a military promotion, there should never be a waiting line in the United States of America. But we all know that national security is both about our men and women in uniform and those who stand side by side with our troops. And in this case, which I have so appreciated the American Legion's leadership, I cannot tell you how critical it's been with my colleagues, is we are talking here about the brave Afghans who served with our soldiers and our troops over in Afghanistan. They put their lives on the line. Many of them lost their lives. Their families' lives are still on the line if they're still over there in Afghanistan. Let me tell you some examples of who we're talking about. Manaz, a commander of the Afghan National Army's female tactical platoon who worked closely with our military. She is an example. She facilitated discussions between our soldiers and Afghans when they were on the battlefield. Ahmad, a pilot whose helicopter was shot down not once but twice. Speaking of his work with our American troops, he said, "In the face of danger, we were united. We were relentless. We were resilient." Another helicopter pilot, so many of them don't want their names known because their families are still at risk back in Afghanistan. A helicopter pilot who worked with our troops to combat the Taliban in remote areas of Afghanistan for 8 years and survived after being shot in the face by flying bullets. Nangyale, an Afghan interpreter who put his life on the line to support our troops. Why? To use his words, same goals, same target, same achievement. We must keep our covenant. And if you haven't seen this movie that Guy Ritchie did, there's a movie out there called The Covenant, which I make all my colleagues watch, and then they get on the bill, okay? The Covenant. We must keep our covenant with our heroes. They fled Afghanistan. They live in limbo in the U.S. now. There's 80,000 of them, and they have been here for quite a while, but they live here literally with a trap door underneath of them. They have to apply and reapply every time just to stay here without any clear path for residency. One of them in Virginia, who was working 2 jobs as an Uber Lyft driver, was shot, killed in the middle of the night. They deserve that permanent residency, followed by what we call the gold standard of vetting. So for some of my colleagues who have joined this bill, and we have the ranking Republicans on armed services, foreign relations, judiciary, Senator Lindsey Graham introduced the bill with me. For some of them, this is actually about that vetting. It is a security issue. We will be able to vet the people once this law is passed. And that's why we have 60 organizations and the American Legion, of course, one of the lead groups supporting this bill. We were so close a few weeks ago with the Ukraine funding, and by the way, Hungary just voted to include Sweden in NATO. That just happened an hour ago. We were so close in getting this included. It was included in the actual package that was agreed to with Senator McConnell and Langford and others. It got stripped away not because of the bill, but because of some other issues related to the border. But I feel even better about the fact that we're going to be able to include it in some vehicle going forward. And I just will need your help to get that done. We now have Senator Mullen is on the bill. I could go on and on about the number of conservatives that we have gotten to join the bill, with Senator Jerry Moran, the lead Republican on the Veterans Committee, leading the amendment with me. Because I figure when America makes a promise or a covenant, we keep it. And if we don't keep our word in this case, it will be very hard for others, and this is where the national security interest hits in, to want to join us in the future. So I thank you for your support. Last, I want to end with some wisdom from the late, great Senator John McCain, an irascible character who was such a good friend of mine. He taught me so much. I traveled the world with him. To Vietnam, stood in front of the cell where he had been held for over 5 years. It was in that cell that he made the decision to let others be released before him, because he knew they were trying to mess around with his head and with our country by allowing him to be released first, because his dad was in a high-ranking position in the military, and he made that decision by himself in that cell to say no and stayed there under torture for years. The last time I saw John, after traveling with him and Senator Graham to Ukraine on the front line and going to all kinds of Baltic states and trips that I can't even tell the stories here, I'd get in trouble. But the last time was when my husband and I went to visit him and Cindy at their ranch in Sedona, this beautiful Red Rock area. And John, as you know, was dying. And he was laying in this bed looking out in that beautiful, beautiful ranch land. And he was having trouble talking, although he still made some jokes to me about where the Ukrainian machine gun was that the former president of Ukraine had given him on a stage, and the Navy confiscated the weapon. And he turned to me and said, "Where's my machine gun?" But at the very end, he couldn't talk as much. And he said, "This is what I want you to remember." And he opened one of his books, and he pointed to this line. And this is the last thing he basically said to me by pointing to the line. "Nothing in life is more liberating than to fight for a cause larger than yourself." That, to me, is what service to our country is all about. And it is embodied by all of you and the millions of American Legion members across this country. We are truly a grateful nation. We are grateful for your service and sacrifice, for your honor and heroism, for your duty and dedication. May we always remember and remain grateful to all our veterans who have made America safe and strong, and it is on all of us to carry on that torch. Thank you for helping me and so many of us in Washington that stand by your side to do that. Thank you.
Now, I'm excited to welcome Americanism Commission Chairman Avis to present information on our Samsung Scholars.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. The alliance between the American Legion and Samsung Electronics is forged in freedom. 29 years ago, Samsung entrusted the American Legion to administer a $5 million scholarship fund. This was the gesture of gratitude on behalf of the people of South Korea, who owe their freedom from communist oppression to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. The first 10 of these scholarships were awarded on September 16, 1996, the anniversary of the American Legion's federal charter. Since then, 2,323 have received more than $7.2 million in college assistance through the American Legion Samsung Scholarship Program. And the original $5 million corpus of that fund remains intact. These students hold an important distinction. They are direct descendants of U.S. war veterans, men and women, who pledged their lives for the future of others. Today's Samsung Scholars are those others. They are our future. They are also the best of the best, having participated in the American Legion Boy State or the Auxiliary Girl State programs. Today, we have the privilege to have with us some of our Samsung Scholars whose military ancestors would be proud that they are living up to the opportunities so many Americans have fought to protect. Let's give them a round of applause.
Now I ask that Chairman James back to the stage to provide the VA&R Commission report.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon again and welcome. I'm Autry James from Department of California and Chairman of the National VA&R Commission. As you prepare to meet with your congressman, I would like to discuss issues of particular interest of the VA&R Commission. We always appreciate everything you do and ask that you discuss these issues in hopes of generating solutions and making them a reality. The first focal point I would like to highlight is suicide prevention and mental health. America is still suffering from veteran suicide crisis, and more urgent action needs to be taken to address veteran mental health issues. The suicide rate among veterans is nearly double that of civilian counterparts, more than 6,000 veterans taking their lives annually. It is imperative to destigmatize asking for mental health support. Simultaneously, access to such support must increase. The American Legion encourages Congress to enhance access to alternative therapies, robustly fund VA's suicide prevention outreach budget, and continue to invest in mental health research. A separate issue to mention is the successful implementation of the electronic health record system. The electronic health record management system has been launched in 5 VA facilities since 2020. As of July 2022, the Department of Veteran Affairs Office of Inspector General and the United States Government Accountability Office have both identified instances of harm to veterans caused by EHRM system. Several bills have been introduced to the 118th Congress in 2003 and focus on two sides of the argument. Either support the continuation of EHRM project with improvements or terminate the program. The American Legion will continue to support the improvement of the EHRM project. We do believe our veterans need to have a record system that is interoperable between multiple entities to provide them with the integrated cohesive care they need and deserve. A third focus of VA&R is the safeguarding of veterans' benefits. The rationale behind creating veterans benefit programs was not to make the veteran whole, was to make the veteran whole and to provide them with assistance that could help them navigate a successful life of military service. More often than not, the disability compensation that a veteran receives is used to offset financial burdens caused by service-connected challenges. Currently, there are unaccredited third parties that present themselves to veterans as legitimate claims service companies who assist veterans in obtaining their earned benefits. The price for assistance is often a portion of the veteran's monetary award. This can range in thousands of dollars. Unaccredited claims companies target veterans with fees as high as 600% of any future increase in their monthly compensation. This practice violates federal law. These unaccredited companies operate outside the regulatory oversight of VA's Office of General Counsel, leaving veterans susceptible to misleading practices. We urge Congress to pass legislation to restore criminal penalties for persons or companies violating VA rules and to fully fund VA staffing for the enforcement of these penalties. We also urge Congress to oppose legislation that would allow unaccredited parties to become legal representatives without completing VA accreditation process. The final focus I will mention here is the underrepresented veteran population. The underrepresented veterans, such as ethnic groups, women, and those living in rural areas, represent about 29% of the total veteran population. Though the overall veteran population is expected to shrink by 2050, underrepresented veterans are anticipated to increase to 43% of the total veteran community. Underrepresented veterans suffer from disparities in health care, worse health outcomes, and unmet health care needs. VA must be cognizant of the inequities among different veteran populations and the way veteran health is impacted by gender, sexuality, race, religion, access to health care, socioeconomic status, and other factors. We ask that Congress ensure VA has culturally competent health care providers, inclusive facility policies, and educational campaigns on the needs of underrepresented veteran community. This is essential in providing high-quality care. Commander Seehafer, thank you for allowing me to share some of the focal points of the Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation Commission, and this concludes my comments.
I'd like to welcome Chairman Jay Bowen to the stage to provide the VE&E Commission report.
Good afternoon. I am privileged to be here today and to continue serving as the chairman of the Veterans Employment and Education Commission. Our commission spent the day today hosting 3 panels to discuss very important issues related to our veterans and our veterans' families. They included things like veterans' homelessness. They talked about the programs across the country that they have and that they're doing to reduce the number of homeless veterans. You know, we have said for many, many years the term homeless and veteran should never, ever be used in the same sentence. Thank you. These experts are joining us, working hand in hand with us to help reduce the number of veteran homelessness. We have programs that currently are in place to do that, and we are introducing new programs to even make that a better program across the country. We also talked about mental health issues. We had several really good experts today that talked about the causes of the mental health issues. And interestingly enough, many times it's not related directly to their service. We have learned over the years that a lot of problems that we have with our veterans related to mental health begin young, while they're still at home, while they're growing up. And they carry that with them into their military service, where it just becomes more and more of an issue. Associated with the mental health issues, obviously, are veteran suicide. And these experts, along with the American Legion, along with you and all of us, are working to try to reduce that number. One veteran suicide a day is too many, and we're working hard to reduce that. Another group that came out was a task force movement group. These are amazing men and women that are working tirelessly to address issues with our active duty service members as they separate from the military, to take the credentialing, the experience that they have earned and learned and worked so hard to do, and transfer those credentials, those experiences into a civilian job and make it a more streamlined opportunity to get those credentials done. That's been a real issue for several years. It has happened in the trucking industry. You've read about it in the Legion magazine. It's happened with cybersecurity, and we are working hand in hand with the task force movement group to try to make this an easier transition and to improve those opportunities for our veterans, which will then also help our country. Cybersecurity, it is without a doubt the most critical issue that we have today. It is our #1 threat to this country. And this task force movement, along with the American Legion, is working to take those experienced new veterans, active duty service members transitioning out, and even those veterans that have been out for a while, to work into these industries and to help get those credentialing more streamlined. I'm very proud of the opportunity and the work that we do in Veterans Employment and Education. I thank the Commander for allowing me the opportunity to serve now in my 2nd year as the chairman, and I wish all of y'all good fortune tomorrow on the Hill. Thank you.
Next, we have Chairman Matthew Schuman with the National Security Commission report.
Good afternoon, Legion family. The American Legion National Security Commission is committed to supporting policies and initiatives that aim to protect the national security of the United States and its citizens. Legislation plays a major role in that work. If we are not legislating, we are not advocating. I have to first thank Senator Klobuchar for speaking about the work that we've done to support our Afghan allies. There is still much work to be done. There are 3 things I briefly want to mention as you go to Capitol Hill. The first is ensuring an excellent military quality of life. The reality is we've created the American Legion Base program. We are starting to go around the country, meet with our military installations, and fight to make sure that our service members and their families have everything they need to be able to fight for this country and make sure that we have the best nation the world has ever seen. Ensuring that the Coast Guard is paid, of course, is an extremely paramount issue that we have. Right now, when there's a government shutdown, and there may be one again next week, the entire DoD gets paid, but not the Coast Guard. If I believe it to be true, the American Legion will be the cause for the Coast Guard getting paid the next time. And it's going to come from your work. And lastly, access to health care for overseas service members and their families as they continue to serve our nation. Just because you are serving our nation outside of the borders of the U.S. does not mean that you do not get health care. The reality is, we are the American Legion, the greatest force that veterans and service members have ever known. And it is our job to go to Capitol Hill and make sure these members of Congress know that we will hold them accountable, and they need to ensure that our service members and their families get proper health care when they are outside of the United States. With that, I'm going to yield back. Thank you so very much. I wish you absolute success on Capitol Hill. Be the one. Go Legion.
Family, I hope everyone is as excited as I am to meet with our congressional representatives and their staffs. You know something? I wish I could testify before Congress right now. While all of you are in town, of course, with your passion, your energy, and your support. It means a lot when somebody's trying to tease me a little bit with about cheese, all right? And you came to my rescue. I will always remember that. Of course, we've heard some great speakers today, and I do know that you're all ready and willing and well equipped to represent not just an organization, but our family, the American Legion on that hill tomorrow. And you never know, with this motivation and this passion, whenever that time takes place, we will be ready. Again, whether it is tomorrow or in the near future, always remember, though, be kind, be professional, yes, be nonpartisan, but always and faithfully be the one. Thank you. Chair, podium's yours.
Thank you, Commander. This has already been an incredible day, and I am grateful to be standing here as Legislative Commission Chairman. Serving all of you and serving with you has been a true honor. Before we close, I have a few announcements. The Commander's Rally is here tomorrow morning at 0800 hours. That's 8 a.m., which includes no before you go discussion. Number 2, please do not take multiple copies of information flyers back home with you. All of this information will be made available on the American Legion website, legion.org/Washington Conference. At this time, if you are able, please stand and uncover. Once again, I call upon the Chaplain Carr for a prayer.
It's over, time to go home. Let us pray. My God, my Lord and Savior, we've come today to pay your benedictive blessings over this meeting and all that was in attendance. Father God, may your love, grace, and mercy cover us as we depart this meeting, but not your sight. As we go out to serve you, our Lord and country, in the spirit of love and truth. For it's in the name of the one mighty God we do serve. Amen.
Please recover and join me in rendering salute to the colors. Face the colors. By the numbers. 1, 2. Commander's call is adjourned. Thank you and see you tomorrow morning.